Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Fletcher Wimbush of the Higher Talent. Fletcher, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. Well, I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys today.
No problem. Super excited to have you on and hear about all the awesome things that you're doing. And before we jump in, I want to read a little bit more about Fletcher so you can hear about some of those awesome things that he's doing. And as the CEO of the Higher Talent, a talent assessment software company, and Wimbush and Associates Incorporated, a talent search firm, Fletcher Wimbush has interviewed over 8,000 job applicants. In addition to talent assessment and executive search work, Fletcher co-authored a book with his late father, Hiring Talent Team Players, A Guide to Getting It Right. He also created the Power Interview Guide, the most effective 30-minute interview ever of all time. And he and his team have published numerous articles, including various media channels, including SHRM, ERE.net, Recruiter.com, and Monster.com, and other thought leadership sites. And hundreds of other articles have been published on their assessment testing website as well. Fletcher, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the nice introduction, Gresham.
No worries. Thanks for doing all the awesome work. So what I wanted to kind of do to get us started is kind of rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on what led you to get started. Could you take us through your CEO story? What led you get started with your business?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, this has been a lifelong passion for me. So my father was a business consultant. He started his consultancy life in 1980, and I was born in 1982. So early into that career, he began and developed a series of behavioral type of assessments. In addition to the common stuff, personality, things like that, it really took a focus on attitude and integrity. So really identifying team players, avoiding problem generators. I think all of us have worked or been in an organization with somebody who's maybe a very high performer, but kind of a pain in the ass, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that could have different levels of disruption. And he was an analytical guy. He was a researcher. He was an introvert, and we would spend all our time talking about best hiring, leadership practices, just being a better person, personal development. And when I was really young, it was like my time state. I mean, all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of inundated with a lot of these leadership and coaching principles, and I was actually kind of got sick of them, right? A lot of people like Tony Robbins, these things, and they're great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not anti these things, but I spent my whole childhood being kind of pushed at me, right? And I really took a keen interest in that. If you get the right people on the bus, that the organization will naturally be successful. And again, not discounting all the other best practices that we need to do. I mean, they're totally valid and important. We need to be good leaders, and we need to have great systems and things like that. But to me, the very beginning of a great organization is with its people. So I wrote papers on it in high school, and continued to be a leader in different roles that I held all throughout my career. And about 7 years ago, it was my time to begin to get involved in this business and take it over. And so I had been able to use a lot of these strategies in other organizations. So actually out of college, I wanted to get involved in the business, and my father said, no, you need to go get some real world experience. And so I did. And so I had entrepreneurial experience, and I opened up 25 delis across the country. And then I worked for a large B2B service company where I ran manufacturing, sales, service, administration. I mean, the whole business unit with all areas of discipline, and for a much larger company. And so, and we saw great results following the principle of let's get the right people on the bus first. And so I had that personal experience. I've been able to use the tools that I've been taught and be able to produce a significant result. We took our business unit from last in the country, from 100th to up in the top 10%. So, it's my lifelong passion. So that's kind of what led me here. And at a certain point, it was my turn to, take over the business and take it to the next level. And so here I am, and I'm continuing that journey.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you're continuing the legacy, and it's so funny because a lot of times I'll say, and I love getting the people on the right bus, that visual,
Yeah.
and helping leaders to kind of understand that, because I say so many times that when we look at business, obviously there's the financials, there's the marketing goals and all of those things, but so many
Yeah.
times we forget about that human aspect of
Hmm.
business. And I love that, you focus on that, and you focus on how best to get those people in the right
Yeah.
seats and on the right bus.
I mean, it's amazing if you get the wrong person. I mean, if you're a small business, big business, medium business, doesn't matter. I mean, if maybe you're a smaller business. I mean, think about it this way: like, okay, you go to hire a marketer or a salesperson. I like this analogy. I mean, you can use this for any position. But let's say a salesperson has $1 million goal, right? And let's just say it takes them 90 days to sort of like get their feet wet and just begin rolling, get rolling. And so that means in 15 months, you want that person to generate $1 million in revenue for you. What happens now when they fail? And usually when people fail, they usually fail quite badly. I mean, if the
Mhm.
guy does like 900,000, you're probably not like, it's probably not the worst thing that ever happened to your organization, right? But they're usually failing at a pretty colossal rate, maybe doing half or even less than half. So say he does half that, or he's on pace to do half of that, so you just lost $500,000 just if you keep the person, right? So maybe you discover this 6 months into the employment, right? So now this person's only generated $250,000 or maybe $125,000 versus the half a million that they were supposed to. So now you just lost $375,000, and now you've got to rehire and start over.
Mhm.
And guess what? It's going to take another
Yeah.
6 months to get back to where you're at. So the you lose money when they don't produce the results that are supposed to happen. You lose even more money when you turn them over and you have to refill, retrain, and get somebody else back. And you're rolling the dice potentially if you're not, focused on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure anybody who's brought somebody on the team and, coached them up and got them onboarded and done all those things, and it didn't work out. And you kind of have to start back from square one, if not square less than one,
Yeah.
in terms of kind of getting all those things in place. So is that kind of like what you do with your business and organization? Is that how you kind of serve the clients, to help them find those right people to get on the bus?
Well, we help them identify whether they have the right person, right? So we're in
Mhm.
the talent assessment business. So we offer 41 different assessment type tools. Uh, Most of them are your traditional kind of assessment test, right? Whether behavioral, cognitive, skill testing, but we also have other tools like candidate scorecards, interview guides, and automated reference checking. So all of these tools are a form of assessment. How do you determine if somebody is going to be the right person and successful on the job? So we give people these tools in order to help them determine whether the people in their pool are going to be successful, right? And then we spend a lot of time educating people on best practices. So that's where there's over 1,500 content pieces on our website under the hire talent / the hiring resources. You can go there, videos, podcasts, books, you name it. Everything you need to know about hiring is on there.
Nice. I absolutely love that. And I feel like, you can't always guarantee, success guarantee is going to be perfect, but I think you can get as close to that as possible. And I
Yeah.
think having that knowledge, having those assessments that you kind of spoke to, and you and your team create, helps to increase that likelihood of being success.
Yeah, if you have a system, and I want to say you fault our system, and our system is not, wholly unique to the world. I mean, it's best practices for hundreds of years, really. Look, hiring and best practice in hiring haven't changed a whole lot. The basic principle is have a system, follow some very specific processes, and you will get better results. So people think it's a mystery, but it's not. And the reason why it's a mystery is because nobody has ever taught this stuff. You don't go to business
Mhm.
school. Nobody teaches you how to hire in business school. Nobody teaches you how to hire as a human resource expert. Like, they don't teach these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I appreciate you, having that thought leadership, all that content and information, of course, being able to I guess do those assessments as well too, because you're absolutely right. Those are some of the things that are, if not one of the most important things you could do, is to
Yeah.
hire somebody. And not being able to kind of learn how to do that, you kind of have to lean on the expertise of others. You have to learn those things because it's not necessarily new, but to be able to lean on the expertise that you have and that you've been learning,
Yeah.
since you were very young is helpful.
Yeah, you have to practice too, right? That's the key. I mean, this is not like you mentioned earlier. I mean, this is not a perfect science. Hiring and people, like psychology, and nothing about it is perfect, but we keep striving to get better and better. But, what we can do is we can follow that best practice, but you got to practice, because there is so many soft skills that are involved, and soft skills are the hardest things to teach somebody. I mean, teach somebody to be a better communicator. I mean, like, good luck. I mean,
Yeah.
you can give them advice and guidance, and you can even train them even in some ways, but it's something that takes time to develop, right? And the only way you get there is by doing it over and over again and practicing. And you don't have to do it 8,000 times like I have. I mean, I think, you follow the process and you committed to practicing it, then, you can do it 10 or 20 times and you probably get pretty good at it. I think about it like golf. I've been a big golfer throughout my life. One of the, like most frustrating sports that you can ever play or participate in, right?
Exactly.
If you practice the wrong thing, it becomes extraordinarily difficult to ever get good, right? This is what happens to us as leaders when we start our careers as hiring managers. We tend to practice the wrong things, and now we have to undo those habits, and that makes it even harder.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of, again, going back to that negative point, and then rather than square one, negative,
Yeah.
whatever, never 100. And I always love, like, I always feel like there's such a great synergy between sports and the lessons you learn from sports and business as well too. So I appreciate you kind of showing that example. So let me ask you this: what would you consider to be your secret sauce? And this is the thing that you feel kind of sets you or your organization apart. What do you feel would be you or your organization's secret sauce?
Oh, wow. Well, I think the big difference is we're really looking at the whole picture, or we'd like to look at the whole picture. Sure, our clients come to us to use our tools, but as I've mentioned before, we've created a massive amount of content on the topic of hiring and recruiting from A to Z. And so we spend a lot of time helping our clients more holistically, not just providing, but having these conversations with us. So client uses the assessments or they use one of our tools, and then we have a conversation about the tool that they're using. And a lot of times, most of the times, the conversation is almost never about the tool. It's almost about their whole process. And every single time we have one of these conversations, there's some sort of light bulb goes on, some tidbit or strategy that they just didn't think about, that they're missing in their process. So, I think it's more than just a set of tools and our commitment to this personal service. This is, as much as, we live in this world of like SaaS and these hot, software companies and things. And, we want to be a hot software company, but maybe I'm old, I'm 38, I don't know. But I think the personal touch that goes along with the use of a complex product or software is really important. And we add that in.
Nice. I absolutely love that. It's so funny because especially in this world we're living in now, I think there's obviously a great opportunity with the digital or like software, these tools. But like you said, I've always been a big believer in being able to kind of merge the digital with the physical, so to speak, and
Yeah.
have that human aspect with the software tools and merge that together is something that really, I think, takes everything to another level.
I think so too. Yeah. I mean, we're all human. We like human interactions. I don't go to a vending machine to buy my coffee. I go to the coffee shop because I like the barista or the
Hmm.
interaction, right.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective
Oh,
and efficient?
yeah. I love this one. So, I told you, so about 7 years ago, I took over this company, and, I was been working for a much larger company, great organization. We're actually, still one of my best clients and really great friends to this day. But, I had to report to work 40 hours a week. And, I was working more than that. I was working like 50 plus hours a week. So, and as I got a little bit older in my early days, I mean, I was a workaholic. So I'm what I like to call a recovering workaholic. And I get more work done than I probably ever did in my life, but I am a strict believer in the calendar. So if it's not on the calendar, I don't do it, but it really allows me to be very, very efficient with my time. I couldn't interview 10,000 people without being very, very efficient with my time. So I use scheduling tools. I pretty much don't take any appointments or phone calls unless I do a blocked time, like free time that I'll, ad hoc. But it allows me to really control my life and my schedule and be very, very efficient and get a lot done in a much shorter period of time. I don't need to spend 12 hours a day working. I can spend 5 or 6 and I can get just as much done as most people do in 12 because they don't have this dead time or useless time or this ambiguous time in my day, right? And my biggest hack when it comes to getting people to schedule with you, for you, so that you're not playing this phone tag or this, exchange. I mean, it just drives us crazy. A lot of people put that scheduling tool in their signature. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever uses it if you put it there. Before your salutation, so I go, message. I always put, hey, love to connect with you. Is there a good time for us to talk this week? ? And then right below that, I have a script that goes in before my salutation. Is if it's more convenient for you, you might want to use this. You might use this easy scheduling tool to pick a time that's great. That's better for you. So it's all about them. And it's said in that way. It's not like, hey, book a time with me here, right? And I think people miss out on that. Everything in life is about the other person. Mm-hmm. Nobody cares about us. They care about themselves.
Yeah. It's so funny. I always used to say, I was in a networking group, and one of the founders or the owners of it always used to say, everybody's listening to WIIFM, what's in it for me? And I think when you start to understand that and you're able to, again, I feel like that's one of those humanistic aspects that we talked about where you're trying to put the person first and you figure out how can I create a solution that it creates that win-win opportunity, but knowing that they're going to be looking for what's in it for me. And yes, of course, I want to save time. So why not just go down to your signature and do that?
Yeah. And I do it before, right? Because people once you hit regards and signature, they kind of they get lost, right?
Yeah.
So, it has really been remarkable because I don't see anybody else doing it, but for me, I never have that. I almost rarely have that well, when's good for you? Oh, I'm not available now. I'm going to send another email back. Wait another day for them to respond. People just do it. And because it is better for them too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you just told everybody, so you'll definitely see a lot more people do it, including me. So I appreciate that.
I hope so.
That hack.
Yeah.
And now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget. And this could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It could be around hiring or recruiting, or it might be something if you hopped into a time machine, you would tell your younger business self.
Yeah. That's a good question. One of the biggest realizations I had in business, and it came from, I'm an EO member, an entrepreneur organization, came through that, was clearly defining who your target customer is. Crystal clear without a doubt. And in our search business, in our recruiting business, once we did that, it literally exploded.
It's extremely powerful. Yeah, so many times you forget that. I guess the saying is, if you're serving everyone, you're serving no one. Yeah. And the more you're able to drill down on that,
very difficult to market and sell.
Exactly.
And
very expensive
message.
Too.
Very expensive. Now, sometimes we need to maybe have lots of targets in order to figure out who our target is. But once you hone in on that, and it needs to be very, very specific, and that really allows you to create more powerful messaging, and from marketing, sales, product fit, whatever, service fit, whatever it is. So that's kind of been probably the biggest thing that changed my world.
Being able to do that. Yeah. I
Yeah,
always say sometimes
figuring
you,
that out.
yeah. Well, I'm glad you talked about that because I think so many times people don't understand that process part of it as
Yeah,
well too, where you say sometimes you have to do a lot in order to do a little. So you do have different targets. Sometimes that's just to understand what and how you want to work, who you want to work with, what actually pays the bills, keeps the lights on, helps you to grow and exceed. But
yeah,
a lot of times that doesn't just come from day one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's usually a process, but knowing that that's what your goal is that goes a long ways, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of
Okay.
what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So, Fletcher, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Wow. Well, it means, creating vision and mission and an environment, really to serve two groups of people. One, it's definitely our clients first, 100%. Um, we've got to add value to their world. We got to help create solutions for them. And we've got to do the same thing for our internal people. We've got to create an environment, a rewarding experience, and create an environment where they can both be personally and professionally successful. So if we do those two things, then I've done my job as a CEO, and everything else will fall into place, and the world will be right, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. When you get those people in the right seats and they're able to kind of serve those clients in the right way, that's when everything starts to fall in line.
Allowing them to be successful, right, in every
Hmm.
way possible, right, and that's when part of being successful would mean be happy, right.
Hmm. Yeah. And then so many times people forget about that. I think there's a quote that says, people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And I think that making sure that you put their happiness or things that they value at the forefront, again, the what's in it for me, helps
Yeah,
to kind of create that environment that you kind of spoke to as well.
if you got an A player, why would you why would you want to do anything else other than
Hmm.
try to make them happy, right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Fletcher, truly appreciate that definition. And I
Awesome.
appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you want to let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you and your team are working on.
Oh, well, it's been a great pleasure. I really enjoyed the chat. Great questions. So yeah, you guys can find us at thehighertalent.com. So it's the hire spelled HIRE talent.com or preemploymentassessments.com. So check us out there. If you're interested, we're happy to jump on a call and chat with you about anything. We do lots of free consultations for folks, just understanding your hiring needs. You can check out on our website under the hiring resources, one of those 1,500 plus different resources or podcasts or books, everything from, full length, books to short, ebooks on the topic. So, I mean, it's extensive, and really encourage people to study up on this stuff. And, we're here to support you, one way or the other.
Nice. I definitely appreciate that. And we will have the links and information in the show notes as well, too,
Awesome.
so that everybody can follow up with you. But you're absolutely right. We talked about, being successful. And one of the best ways you can do to be successful is making sure you're getting those people in the right place and on the right bus going to the right place. And I appreciate you creating so much information for us to be able to do that. So I appreciate you, Fletcher. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Hey, Gresh, thanks, man. You too. Bye.